A few years ago, a singer I know very well was at the brink of giving up after pursuing music as an independent artist for nearly a decade. But little did he know, in just the next 2.5 years, his burnout would turn a corner and his new band would go from 0 to 1.5 million streams on Spotify. So how did he do it? In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how I helped this burnt out artist turn his life around from feeling depressed and beaten down after years of grinding in music to fully confident and in full alignment with his creative purpose and community, and how you can do the same. And spoiler alert, it wasn't by running endless ads or chasing the newest social media trend. No, he achieved this by tapping into his artistic brilliance and creating sustainable strategies to connect his artistry to the right audience of listeners. However, before we dive in, if you're here because you are ready to grow your streams and finally connect with a real community for your music, click the link in the description below that's titled Free Artist Consultation, and you can schedule a time to speak with me directly for free so that we can discuss a detailed plan to get you from feeling burnt out to feeling clear and confident in your music marketing strategy, just like we did with the singer I was talking about before. Now, let's get into it. The problem that most artists face in the music industry right now is that the culture of independent artistry makes us feel like all of the answers are outside of ourselves. We're caught in the whirlwind of following social media trends, copying what we see works for other independent artists, and comparing ourselves to the 1% of the music industry that's already famous. And the problem with all of that is trends are fickle and momentary. Each artist has a different creative vantage point, and so what works for them and their audience might not work for you and yours. And the top 1% usually have big budgets, extensive teams, and a lot more to their journeys of success that we do not always see. And more importantly than any of that, they're not you. If all of your ideas to promote your music come from outside of you, then you're essentially missing the point of what it means to be an artist. Being an artist is all about perspective, how you share your perspective through your music and utilize that perspective to connect with an audience. The truth is, diehard fans don't simply fall in love with you because they like how your music sounds. Listeners become super fans because of how your music makes them feel and how what your music represents connects to them on a deep, deep level. Real quick, think about your absolute favorite artist and ask yourself why you like them so much. I bet you aren't going to simply say that it's because you like their songs. Yes, of course, you like their songs, but that artist stood out for a reason. And that's the core of what we want to get at with our artistry. Whenever you form a strategy to market your music, you must start with getting crystal clear on what defines you and your creativity. And that is exactly where we started with the artist I mentioned in the beginning of this video. When you're about to build out a music marketing strategy, the absolute first thing you want to do is define a clear mission for your music and your artistry. This mission acts as the foundational blueprint upon which you will build everything in your artistry moving forward, including your content. It is the connective tissue that helps you articulate a clear, consistent, and digestible story. Think of this as a building. Every building construction starts with building the framework, the foundation. If we want the building to last, to weather any storm, and require as little fixing in the future as possible, we must ensure a strong foundation. Remember this, you can only build a skyscraper as tall as the foundation is strong and deep. This is the exact philosophy with which we should approach building and crafting our missions in our music. We want to build our careers high, so we must ensure everything we do to build that career rests on a powerful foundation. When you go about crafting your mission, you must ask yourself these 3 essential questions. 1, what are the most impactful moments of your life that define who you are and shape your subconscious world? Your creative nucleus, the energy center of your creative process, is directly tethered to your subconscious world, and your subconscious world is directly shaped by your lived human experiences. Whether you realize it or not, the songs you write and their lyrics and their emotions and their frequencies are a direct byproduct of this subconscious self. If you comb through your discography, I bet you will see patterns in the personality, in the themes, in the energies, and the messages inside of your music. And if you analyze these patterns, I bet you can connect them back to the moments that have shaped you most, that have shaped who you are and subsequently who you are as an artist. These moments color the way you see the world and thus the way you create. The second question you must ask yourself is, what is the specific type of music I create? Yes, I do mean genre, but I also mean any quality that defines the parameters of your creative thumbprint. Now, I know you might be thinking, Joey, I love to jam and I write music from moments of cathartic passion. I don't want to put boundaries on what I create. And to that I say, perfect. The whole point of crafting a clear mission for your music is to allow for creative catharsis, to supercharge your musical presence with your creative perspective and your creative freedoms. But the truth is, if we want to market that music to an audience, the audience must understand it. Remember this phrase because I will be saying it a lot in my content moving forward. Repetition equals reputation. When you show up for your music with consistency of voice, consistency of perspective, consistency of sound, then people who don't know who you are and don't understand yet your inner creative world can actually begin to understand it. If your sound is all over the place, inconsistent and random, then they might not understand what to expect from you as an artist, and thus they will be much less likely to click follow. Additionally, sonic consistency allows for tools like Spotify's algorithm to support your growth moving forward. If Spotify can identify patterns and consistencies in your music, then it can better identify which users to send your music to based on their listening habits and their listening patterns. Outlining your sound and getting deep and specific when doing so allows you to build a creative infrastructure that provides catharsis while also offering you the tools to stand out and scale on Spotify. And the last essential question, which is possibly the most important, what is the desired impact of your music? In other words, why do you create music in the first place? Your music is fueled with purpose and meaning and messages. And for you and your music to actually stand out in the algorithms, you want to become established as someone for someone. You're not simply posting content and you're not simply marketing your music. You're building a legacy as an artist. Again, artistry is all about perspective, so what is yours? Getting clear on the desired impact of your music allows you to identify the deeper value that you provide your listener. Remember before when I asked you to think about your favorite artist and why you love them so much? Your reasoning is the exact value transaction that their music provides you. By knowing your value, you can amplify your content strategy with a deeper meaning and message so that you're not simply a musician promoting music, but instead an artist with perspective and a creative voice. Instead of simply being someone who has a song people like, you'll be the artist people turn to for something. The artist who makes someone feel something, or the artist who wrote the song that helped someone overcome something. That something is your value. That value is your impact, and when you tie all of these pieces together, the story of who you are as an artist with a clear musical direction and a focused desired impact, the fans you will make won't simply listen to one song, but instead your entire discography. They will fall in love with you, not simply a song. Essentially, all these pieces work together to create community, not simply a listener base. And don't just take it from me. Take it from my client, Mike, who grew tens of thousands of TikTok followers within months of implementing his content strategy he developed after joining my coaching program, and who also 10x'd his Spotify following within less than our first year of working together. Just months after working together, he said, I feel so much more grounded and clear about the road to getting to where I want to be as an artist. I've subconsciously had a why and a mission statement, but never really had to think about it and connect that with the bigger picture for myself and fans. There's also Aman, who had a creative breakthrough just weeks after we began working together. He shared, previously my mindset was very tactical and focused on making songs and finding people who might like them. I didn't look at the bigger picture or deeper into myself. Now I feel like I'm building the foundation for a strategy. By getting clearer on their missions, these artists reprogrammed the way that they looked at their music so they can supercharge their marketing with a clear, focused identity, saturated in their creative genius so that they didn't attract just any fan, but the right fan. And once we complete our mission, that is exactly what's next in the process. Understanding exactly who your ideal fan is, the ideal fan of your music, and the ideal fan of your mission. But before I dive in, if you want to join artists like Mike and Aman in truly understanding exactly how you can harness your artistry and stand out on any algorithm, Click the link titled Free Artist Consultation in the description below to speak with me directly so that I can guide you through every step of the way. Now, once we are fully aligned in our mission, we must identify who this mission is going to connect with on the highest level. Nowadays, artists are fixated on creating for a platform. We're exclusively focused on the numbers, staring obsessively at how many views or likes our posts get. However, the platform is not a person. When we channel our energy solely into those numbers, we lose sight of what those numbers actually represent. They represent real people, and those real people are exactly who we should be creating our content for. And not just any person, but specifically your ideal fan. The truth is, your music is not made for everybody. And when you put too much emphasis on things like going viral, you're essentially saying, I want anybody and everybody to like my music. However, anybody and everybody is not somebody, and anybody and everybody liking the same thing implies that that thing is maybe generic, general, and a bit like vanilla ice cream. In other words, it lacks perspective. Having perspective comes from having an opinion. The more nuanced and unique the perspective, the more potent the opinion becomes. And if you have a strong opinion, in other words, if you have a strong creative perspective, it's not going to be accepted by everybody. That is a recipe for watering down your artistry, and we don't want that. We don't want just anybody to see our content. We want the right people to see it. The people who vibrate at our frequency, those who vibe with our perspectives and resonate with our opinions, because these people are the ones who we create music for to begin with. This all goes back to understanding your desired impact, as we spoke about before. By identifying why you create music and what you want to share in your musical legacy, you get clearer on how that adds value to people. The specific person who gets the most value from your desired impact is going to be the prototype of your ideal fan. And this isn't about getting hung up on age ranges or specific demographic details, but instead, it's about getting clear on how their human experience overlaps with your creative impact. So ask yourself, who is the exact person who would get the absolute most value from my music's message? And oftentimes, because our music comes from our subconscious world, that ideal fan often resembles us in some way. This all helps us create the most impactful strategy. Once we understand who this ideal fan is, we can be way more specific in actually reaching them. Why? Because we can leverage two essential aspects of any sticky social media strategy. One, we can integrate very specific messaging into our music to specifically resonate with them, whether, for example, in a video's hook or in the way we position our songs and our lyrics and the messages of our music. Again, the goal isn't to aimlessly post content and hope people like it, but instead imbuing each piece of content with an intentional plan to deeply resonate with our ideal fan. And secondly, we can create a strategy that leverages algorithmic tools to actually get in front of this specific person. That way, our content is intentional and thus well received. And if we don't know who this person is, then we cannot effectively do any of that. Our fan is hanging out in very specific neighborhoods on social media. These neighborhoods are known as niches. And when we understand our fan, their behaviors, and their interests, we can design our content strategy to show up inside these niche neighborhoods. And the process is super simple. First, we must identify who is this ideal fan. Secondly, we must get very clear on the niches that they are engaging with on social media. And lastly, we must populate our entire content strategy with the keywords and the hashtags aligned with those niches. And over time, with high-performing content, we will rank consistently in these exact spaces, and our fan will see them because our fan is hanging out in those spaces. When we can successfully do this, that is when the real fun starts. This is when the right fan begins to discover your music, and they will behave like they have just discovered a gold mine. Once that content starts performing well, it will begin receiving comments like this. I feel called out and welcomed home at the same time. Love this song. One of my most listened to songs according to Spotify. I love y'all so much. Never had anything representing me like this. This is where the rubber of your mission meets the road of your ideal fan. When this happens, we receive engagements that are not simply rooted in people liking a song or our music, but instead a deep sense of connection and community. And our music then becomes a beacon for something these people hadn't yet realized they were looking for. When we hit this bullseye in our strategy over and over again, it turns into high-level conversions onto platforms like Spotify and drives high-level engagements that support Spotify's algorithm, such as listener percentage, artist follows, and playlist ads. And when you can stockpile these metrics in the first few weeks to months of your release, the Spotify algorithm will begin supporting you on a mass scale. Take my band streams, for instance. Our 2 most recent singles have amassed nearly 100,000 streams just from Discover Weekly alone in the past year. And this expansive discoverability in the Spotify algorithm paired with a social media content strategy that specifically targets the right audience has resulted in our songs being added to over 13,000 user-generated playlists in the last 12 months alone. And with no playlist promotion. Now, remember that artist I spoke about in the beginning of this video, the one who was on the brink of quitting music altogether, but turned everything around in just 2 years, growing 1.5 million streams on Spotify? Well, if you haven't guessed it by now, that artist is me. A few years ago, I almost quit music. I was in a band for 7 years that I dedicated my blood, my sweat, my tears to, and despite being at the height of our success, we broke up. I truly did not know if I could spend another 7 years struggling and sacrificing to build a new musical act from the ground up. And so I was this close to quitting. But I knew music meant more to me than simply numbers. I knew I had an important message to share, and I knew I had a community to connect with. So I poured myself into fixing it. And in just 2 years, I started a new act and went from 0 streams to over 1 million. I developed a very specific process to get me there, and I have since used this process to help other artists amass hundreds of thousands of followers, grow millions of views, and build thriving communities for their music. And I would love to help you as well. If you are an artist with an important message to share, and if you too are feeling exhausted, running on the independent artist hamster wheel just like I was, I promise you there is an easier way, and I can guide you through it. Click the link below titled Free Artist Consultation in the description and schedule a call to chat with me directly. That way we can chat through together all the things you're struggling with and come up with an actionable, meaningful plan to get you through it. And if you have found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. I will be uploading videos every single week to help you come into alignment with your artistry and develop sustainable strategies to reach the right community for your music. Also, turn on your bell notifications so that you never miss an upload. And if you found anything in this video helpful, or if you have any questions that I might be able to help with, comment your breakthroughs and comment your questions below. Remember, you got this. Your artistry is a beacon for real people who need it. And every strategy, tactic, and algorithm is simply a tool to help you build it. So let's start a building, shall we? Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.